Tata Motors 75% down from all-time high. However, the recent quarter 4 sales for JLR has bounced back after the cyber accident. Now we'll be looking at the fundamental and technical analysis and the live trade setup for this particular stock. So, Tata Motors, the passenger vehicle company, demerged from Tata Motors in October 2025. Now it has two main driving engines. That one is India's EVs market, and the second is Jaguar Land Rover globally. The India business is an outperformer. EV volumes are up by 43%. There was about 70,000 bookings on day one for Saira, and the punch is that the EV is where they are the segment leader. JLR, however, had a rough year. There was a cyber attack and 50,000 units were lost. There was a quarter three net loss of 3,000 crore. But here is a fundamental trigger. JLR's quarter four wholesale volumes rebounded 61% quarter on quarter. This was including the Range Rover and Defender, a high margin lineup, now 77% of the total mix of the volume. The quarter four results, May 2026, are the rating catalyst for this particular stock. However, the valuation is about for price to book perspective is 0.92 below the book value. Buying a Tata Group luxury brand cheaper than its net assets, that is quite compelling. However, we need to keep our eye on the US tariffs and China slowdown, which might cause problem for JLR headwinds. So we need to trade accordingly. Now looking at the technical analysis, when we look at the monthly chart, there was a peak volume for this stock in the 2020-2021 rally. The stock ran 100 to 1200, then brutal reversal to 295. The key level is around 310 to 320. There's a decade old demand zone where buyers have always showed up, massive accumulation here. Long term holders defend these prices. This is a primary support. When we look at the weekly chart, the October 2025, there was a sharp big red candle, and however there was also high volume as well. There was a peak panic selling, capitulation signal, base forming since then. 400 to 420 is a stock got rejected here in the early 2026. Then trapped buyers created overhead supply wall. There was a major resistance in this particular region now. However, now we'll have to look at the daily chart to actually understand how we will be placing our trade currently. It is now recovering from the range of 295 to 358, and they can see that there are certain green candles as well for this particular stock in the past few days with the rising volume. The RSI is around 63.78 for 63.76 for this stock. The early momentum, it is not overbought, so there is room to run. So we can see that 370 to 75 to 380 is the consolidation zone during the downtrend. Classic support resistance flip. There were trapped sellers. Immediate resistance might be seen here in the future. The support will be around 310 to 320. The resistance 375 to 380, and the supply wall will be 400 to 420. So the confluence across time frames, and that this is our setup for the GTT. Now I'll be placing the GTT order. So I'll be buying the stock at entry price of about 332. This is inside the institutional demand zone. GTT fires automatically on pullback, so we will wait for the price to come down and then we will be placing an order to confirm on the trend. Then we will be placing a OCO for the stop loss and target price. The stop loss will be around 308 below the demand zone. The structure breaks here, then the thesis is invalid and we auto exit. There might be a loss of about 25 per lot, 24 per lot, and the target price would be around 380. That is the first resistance, around the first resistance level. So the reward is around 48. Risk reward ratio is 1:2. the stretch target to 420, that is 1 to 3.6. That but we however will be moving with caution, and we will be placing this particular GTT as well. So we do not have to look at the screen continuously and get emotionally involved. The plan will execute itself. We'll have to see how the quarter four and the coming quarters, how the company performs and how the JLR business surprises us. However, do your own research and trade safely.